There was this comment I got a few months back that has been a pretty repetitive thing in the Xbox PlayStation comparison situation, which is that it's pretty stupid that Xbox fans don't care about the problem that they have. As somebody that really follows a lot of gaming news and has all the consoles and pays attention to what every guy's doing, I'm here to tell you, he's right. I don't care. As the guy that's primarily on an Xbox side, because a lot of folks want Xbox to be doing what PlayStation is doing, which is marketing these super duper big exclusive games, or just have first time reveals like Final Fantasy 16 or the Silent Hill 2 remake or the KOTOR remake, which I know got scrapped. But then there's the marketing things too, like the Resident Evil 4 remake reveal, Tekken 8, Street Fighter 6. PlayStation has that in the bag. They have the marketing big hits that gets people really hyped, and that's because that is their plan. They spend that money to drive in people with the exclusives, with the marketing beats. Microsoft is banking heavily on Game Pass instead of exclusive and big marketing beats. They're getting the AA and indie stuff like Ark 2, The Last Case of Benedict Fox, and Stalker 2. And of course, all their first party stuff like Bethesda, and they're trying to acquire the Activision Blizzard deal. Like, that's what they're trying to do. And I thought I'd make this video to kind of not silence the naysayers, but just to give some clarity about why Xbox is never going to be doing what you want them to do. Because at the end of the day, PlayStation and Xbox just have two different strategies. And it's really interesting and cool to see that they're both working. And this started to become a thing in the July Summer 2020 showcase, I think it was. And that was the first showcase that Xbox really went like all in on marketing what Game Pass was. Like, everything you see in this showcase is gonna be a Game Pass day one launch. And that was kind of a crazy thing to do. And because of that, it wasn't as hype as their E3, like 2018, 2019, 2017 too shows. Like, their E3 shows were not bad. They were pretty hype. But then they kind of transitioned away from that and downscaled to really focus on what's coming to Game Pass. And because that happened, that's where folks came in, and they're just not as interesting as PlayStation because they don't have these big Resident Evil 4 or KOTOR remake moments. Microsoft could give Xbox the power to do that, to give them the choice to do that, but they're just not doing that because that's not the strategy that they're doing. And to potentially add that to Game Pass, because some people might say that, like, there's just nothing interesting on Game Pass that I want to play. Why don't they add these bigger AAA games? Because that'd be so expensive. Those games don't need to be on Game Pass. That's why. They don't need to be on Game Pass. They will sell millions of copies. And if Xbox, like Microsoft, gave them the money to pay for that, they would have to give them literally millions of sales of copies. And that would just be far too expensive to do for games that will just sell. And that's why those games make the deal with PlayStation. Because even if they're not exclusive and they just give them marketing rights, or even if they do become an exclusive, like Silent Hill 2 or Final Fantasy 16, they're gonna sell on that system. They're going to sell copies at full price, and that's when they make the money. The other recent element that kind of spurred this conversation is the truth bomb through this whole Activision deal that just won't end freaking ever. But through that deal, we got these papers that revealed, yeah, game sales for games that get added to Game Pass are not as good as if maybe they weren't or whatever. But no duh. That's just an obvious result, because obviously if it's on a subscription service, people aren't going to buy the game. They're just going to go to the service to play that game. But that doesn't mean that the game won't sell more copies on other platforms potentially. Look at Hi-Fi Rush as this shadow drop of a title and announcement that, yeah, a lot of people, of course, just played it on Xbox Game Pass, but then it became one of the top selling games on Steam that week, probably because of the exposure that Game Pass gave it. It's also a service that a lot of smaller developers have actively expressed they want to be on because they don't have those guaranteed sales and IP recognition that those bigger properties that PlayStation is marketing will have. So these smaller teams, these smaller developers, and these new IPs, they are totally down to get on the service. And that's also a way that we got to see Hollow Knight Silksong be announced as a Game Pass thing, because Team Cherry is probably really happy to get like a guaranteed I don't know, 100,000 to 1 million copies worth that Microsoft is going to pay these guys. So to come back to the root of the question, you know, why doesn't Xbox have these super duper big AAA partner things with these, you know, third-party developers or marketing these big games? It's just because there's two different strategies here. The goal of any platform, and I'm not just talking about Xbox, PlayStation, the goal of any platform is to get as many users on it as possible. If you're a YouTube channel, website, blog, whatever, the goal is to get as many users on it as possible, and that's why you see like become a part of our email list, you know, or grocery stores, they want to get your email because they want you to keep coming back. And that's what companies do. So what PlayStation does is they make these big exclusive and third-party marketing deals to make people feel like a lot's coming. And what Xbox does is keeps adding stuff to Game Pass, like Wo Long Fallen Dynasty and Lies of P and other things. You know, they want to keep bringing people back because the real deal when you have that user base is the multi-plat games. Before Call of Duty becomes any first-party thing with Microsoft, you know, even though the marketing beat is on PlayStation and they primarily sell on PlayStation because of that, the more users are on the platform, the more likely they'll want to stay on that platform and they'll buy games on it. For instance, because I am primarily an Xbox player, thanks to Game Pass, even though Elden Ring was not a Game Pass game, I still bought it on Xbox because I'm just like, I spend most of my time on here anyway, so I might as well. Yeah, the Resident Evil 4 remake, Street Fighter 6, Tekken 8, they got revealed through PlayStation State of Plays, but those are multi-plat games, and the bigger user base that is on a platform, that might be where those games sell more copies. There's even a video I did about the math of Game Pass and how that's working out for them and how Game Pass isn't the way they make money, it's how they have their marketplace make money. Their marketplace makes like 4 times as much as Game Pass does, and that's because it brings them onto the service. It's a tool, it's a vehicle to get people on that platform, and that's why they're putting money into that service instead of these exclusive and marketing deals. Again, they're strategies that work for both the PlayStation side of things and the Xbox side of things. They are both working, and that's great for us because then they can kind of compete with each other, and they are competing with each other. And I really don't think people on the outside of Game Pass will really understand why Xbox is fully diving into that service and why every time you watch an Xbox show, you're just like, boy, what am I getting next kind of a thing. Like until they're in that service, it's hard to really explain it to people how that is literally the way Xbox generates hype instead of those big third-party exclusive or marketing situations. To understand it more though, there's a math video and Game Pass games you could check out, like just explaining how Game Pass makes the Xbox money and explaining a few games through Game Pass that I would have never played if it wasn't for the system. So if you want to check this out, go check them out and let me know your thoughts down below. And don't forget, it's never too late to speculate.